Hello there! I'm Squire Callahan Ridgeborn, almost a battlemaster, always a wizard, and tonight I am joined by Pittacus, a Paragon Wizard of the Rising Winds. Pittacus, do you want to say anything to say hi?
Yeah, hello. I think that this is probably the best class in the game. It's really hard to contend with Wizard. They always say we have an ego, but I think it's just the truth, and no one's willing to accept that.
Awesome. Pitt, how long have you been playing Amtgard?
Oh, so I started in January of 2010. So that put me right around 15 years. Started as a young little tyke.
Wow. Is that 15 years continuous, or did you take any big breaks in the middle there?
That is 15 years continuous. I just can't get enough of Amtgard.
Nice. How long have you been playing Wizard?
Oh, man. So, we stopped playing V7, I think it was 2014, and as soon as V8 hit, I looked at all the stuff for Wizard. At that point, I had just gotten my Master Druid, which is now Paragon Druid, and I was like, man, this really lines up with all of the things that I want to do. So since then, I've been playing with Wizard off and on since about 2014, 2015, and just haven't stopped until now.
Amazing. What did your Paragon journey look like? What were the ups and downs? Did you know you were getting your Paragon Wizard? How did that go? Tell us about that.
So I started playing Wizard, again, 2014 or 15. I was just kind of having fun, playing around, didn't really care about getting another Paragon at that point. I was still messing around with other classes and all that. I think around 2018, around Keep, was when I decided, hey, I really like this class. I really want to just keep on going with it. I think it's time for me to go with another Paragon. And from 2018 until, I think it was October of last year, I pretty much only played Wizard. I didn't really mess around with other classes, which around that time, I didn't know I was getting my Paragon, but the Monarch, Sicarius, he commissioned me to make my own Wizard sash, which was hilarious. And it was really, really sketchy, because he didn't tell me. I was like, hey, who's this for? He was like, I can't really tell you. I know you want it, and I don't want you to get jealous.
So he bamboozled you into making your own Paragon Wizard sash.
Yeah, I got.
Did you have any idea as you were working on it that it was going to be the one you would wear?
I was really hoping the entire time. Again, it was one of those, I was making it the whole time, weaving it, and I was like, man, if only I knew how big it would be. Maybe it's for me. I can add extra stuff, or... at the time, I think it was just like me or you that I really wanted it to be for, and obviously I'm glad it's me.
Okay. What does your training regiment look like? How do you maintain your Paragonliness and your tip-top shape there?
So something that I like to do is, around the time that I was really pushing for it, would be I would really push on having my voice last as long as I can, which ended up being just belting out songs in the car like everyone else does. That really helps with that. Training your voice to be loud and really push how far you can go, because even though it says 20 feet, you want it to last 100, 200 feet to the other side of the field sometimes. And another thing that I really liked was, with the coming of all these like rap songs and hip-hop songs, trying to memorize some of that stuff and then just sing with it so that you can get how fast you're saying things, but still enunciating everything is really important. And then translating that to just saying the spells over and over and over and over again. Personally, I'm a big fan of spell balls. So in addition, I also just... so for context, these are the... if I can get them there.
Right there.
These are the spell balls that I like, the base cores. They're just little like mini baseballs that are exact to the minimum dimensions that our game wants, and I just constantly throw them at targets over and over again to make sure that I can hit every single time.
I want to follow up on those spell balls there. How dense is that foam?
I don't remember exactly. They are definitely squishy, but they're rigid enough that no matter what, even in armor, you're still going to feel that for sure.
Okay. I also use balls for my spell balls, and I'm not a fan of the rubber bands. They're too inconsistent for me.
No, not at all. Starting out, of course, everyone starts to use the cloth rubber band balls, all that stuff. But when I was coming up and I knew that I wanted to use spell balls as the main part of my kit, I wanted to get some of the higher end spell balls here and really focus on making sure things hit every single time. And when I bought these, I was very glad that my consistency stayed up so high.
Yeah, having consistent equipment can really boost you a lot, and it's a little tip that I picked up along the way. What kind of wizard fighter are you? Where do you go? Are you frontline, midline, rear, flanking? What are you doing?
So, I like to be either in the midline, kind of behind all those warriors and stuff, but still close enough so I can fight. And then every once in a while, if I find that a side needs help or something like that, I might move over just for a few seconds to throw in a heat weapon to a monk or such. But I like to really stay in the middle, help get the men's out for the warriors, help get the other line pushed, because that's really your job in the end. You're kind of like a spear. But I mean, no matter what, this game is so fluid. You definitely need to be looking out on the other sides of the field and making sure everyone else is taken care of. Especially as wizard, where you have the option to do kind of everything offensively.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what do you think is the minimum equipment you need to successfully play wizard?
I think that I love to pride myself on the idea that wizard is such a good entry-level class, because this right here is the only thing that you need to start playing wizard. And then, of course, I mean, a spell list, but you can kind of make sky the limit for this class. You can start off with just the sash, take yourself a couple spells, maybe a short sword if you really want, and even that, all the way up to level 6, can get you, heck, even to Paragon. I've seen multiple people do that, especially with Battlemaster type lists, where they'll just take a single short sword, which most people already have, take their sash, walk onto the field, and then they can really just terrorize the field. And then you can go all the way up to having, oh gosh, it's like 40 or something spell balls. And really spending your money that way. But no matter what, this is a very low cost class for you to start in. The cost for this class is less on money and more on knowledge. There's just so many things to learn and do and figure out when it comes to this class.
It's a lot more of a time sink than a money pit.
Ugh, so much of a time sink.
Let's talk about look the part. What do you think separates a just normal garbed person from a look the part wizard? How do you differentiate that?
So I really think that we as a game do really well with wizards specifically as far as look the part goes. Some people just go with the wizard hat. There's the iconic wizard's hats here, but most of us really set ourselves apart with making sure that our garb is a little extra flowy, making it look more wizard-like. Some of us go with more scholarly ways. And really putting all that together, especially in the new rules where we have magic staves, I think that the magic staff really just is a look the part bonus for wizards specifically versus the other classes. I mean, no one else does it better.
Absolutely. Are you working on a magic staff yourself?
I have not made a magic staff right now, and that's mostly due to just materials and as of right now, I'm taking a little bit of a break from magic classes, and I'm going to be focusing on some melee classes currently. But I'm really excited to test that out once I get the chance, and it's a little bit warmer.
Yeah, absolutely. So you are rather notorious for the duck hat. I'm glad you're wearing it for the video because I wanted to bring it up. You know, I don't know if you are aware of this, but your duck hat is actually the reason I started wearing my hat.
Oh my gosh.
I probably haven't told this story on the channel before, but this hat actually is ancestral armor for me. So if you look in here, you can't really see it very well, but this mark back in here.
Yeah.
So this helmet here was actually issued to my great-grandmother on my mother's side by the United States government. She was on a surveying team for the I can't remember which valley it was. There was a river valley in California, and she was on the official U.S. government survey team, and they issued these little bump helmets to them. And this has been passed down now through several generations. And I've always loved this hat and not had a good place to do anything with it. And then I was always struggling because I don't like the traditional wizard hats. They're too floppy, right?
I hate them so much. I think
they just fall off all the time.
For me,
you know,
my play style of moving around so much and playing it, they just fell off every single time, and I'm just like, I hate this. I'm not doing this anymore.
Well, and when I saw you playing with your duck hat, and it kind of clicked for me, like, oh, it doesn't matter what kind of hat you're wearing. Any hat is fine. Do you like your hat? You can wear your hat. And so then I started wearing my hat. So that's a fun little thing. When did you get the duck hat, and when did you decide that was going to be a staple of your garbing there?
Oh, man. That was somewhere around, like, 2019 or something. I was looking around on Amazon, good old Amazon, and I was looking around for, like, hats, things to wear, things to flare up garb, and just anything, even if it was silly, and I saw the duck hat, and I was like, yep, this is something I love. And it was really funny because I really love the idea that with Paragon, really loved the idea that when you're pushing for Paragon, you just got to set yourself apart. It doesn't matter if it's perfect to that class. I think especially with things like Archer, where there is no set this or that for the class, you just want to set yourself apart and looks different. Things that really set into people's minds. Oh yeah, that's that person. That's really important when you're going for Paragon, because there could be up to 100 people on that field. And trying to remember one person with one class, it's just so hard.
You need something that makes you iconic.
Yeah, you've got to be iconic. You've got to have some kind of, like, what people call drip now. You really have to start setting yourself apart when you're really pushing hard for that Paragon, so that others can see you and put you in for those recommendations and really try hard. And I'm really glad that this duck hat's gotten me so far, and now I just can't get rid of it. Even when playing other classes, I still wear it, and I'm like, man, I really gotta find a new hat. I gotta find something.
I think you're locked into the duck hat. I mean,
I think it's locked in. I was really surprised that none of the scrolls that I got had anything to do with ducks.
That does seem really surprising.
Yeah, it had nothing. I mean, it wasn't anything even close to anything that I had on the, like, award preferences page. They went full left field, and I still love it so much. My Paragon, it was put on leather, and I forgot what the language was, but they put it all onto a leather, and they've got parts where I can hang it. Well, I just decided to hang it onto my Squire belt, and now I just won't take it off. I really hope it doesn't get messed up, but I just pride myself on it so much, because this was the award that I tried the hardest for so far in this entire game.
Awesome. Going back to our brief gear discussion, is there any gear for Wizard that feels like it's a waste of time, or it's not useful?
So I think that, personally, until they change something, the only really, like, super useless thing that we have is just going to be Suppression Bolt. I like that what it does, Suppress is really good and really strong, but it just doesn't seem to have a place amongst the others. I mean, you've got all these that it's like, hey, we've got this effect. Also, it breaks weapons. Also, it breaks armor.
Mm-hmm.
And it just Suppression, and nothing else is not all that great right now.
It feels like just a worse Ice Ball. Like, Ice Ball freezes your target. They can't cast spells because they're frozen.
Yeah, they can't do anything versus, oh yeah, you probably can't cast spells maybe for 60 seconds if you don't find anyone to get rid of it.
They can just run away.
Yeah, they can just walk away and find somebody to get rid of it.
Yeah. I have not used Suppression Bolt since I leveled up to the point where I had Ice Ball and I had Lightning Bolt, because when you're level 2, Suppression Bolt's pretty stinking good, right? Like my...
yeah, it's a lot better than some of the other stuff, but once you get higher up, the 1 ball per purchase just really doesn't cut it. And then, like, I still have 2 Suppression Bolts, and I bring them out every once in a while when I really notice, hey, I really know that this wizard doesn't like to get suppressed.
Mm-hmm.
Let's make it a little bit longer. If I'm running Evoker, it's an auto add just because I can't bring Great Con.
Right.
But I don't see myself using it nearly as much as anything else.
Yeah, there was some talk that was going around for a little bit of adding an engulfing curse effect to Suppression Bolt, and if that would make it good. What do you think about that? Would that make it a lot more viable?
There were 2 options, and the one with the curse engulfing, I think was okay. I don't see curse being nearly as big of an issue as people seem to think it does.
Mm-hmm.
We just have so much curse running around the field that it really doesn't affect much. I don't think it's going to really make Suppression Bolt all that much better. I think it might give it a little bit of a niche role here against, like, healers. But I think it's just going to get put to the wayside again. The second option that I thought of that I think was also popular among other people were just giving it a point of damage. I think that if you hit somebody in the chest, especially with any kind of ball, probably should kill them if they don't have anything.
Right.
And right now, it sucks so much to hit a healer in the chest with a Suppression Bolt, and you're like, okay, that did nothing.
I'd rather have hit you with literally any other thing.
Yeah, I would rather have just, like, used my first level Force Bolt that I get many, many more of.
Yeah. I would agree with that. What is your default spell list? Like, if you're going into a generic battle game, you don't know anything about it, what list are you bringing?
So, I'm a big fan of not running any of the archetypes, and just running a generalist kind of list. I think that the archetypes really put you into a detriment where I know I'm only doing this one thing, but I'm going to be really good at it. And if I don't know what's going on in the game or in the day, I don't know who's on the field, I'm just going to walk on there. I'm going to not take an archetype. I'm going to be pretty spellball heavy. I really like having just all of the... I like having Seal Life. I like just bringing a bunch of men's, greater men's, all of these things for our frontliners. Being that support that you really have to be, even though you're the DPS, you are a part of being a pushing part. I think all the casters need to share the brunt of being that support, and Wizards really do it really well. We have that per life mend at level 1. We have that greater mend at level, I think it's, check my notes, level 3.
Yep.
I mean, if you experience your greater mends and then you have a bard friend, you guys can go so long and make a warrior last just so long. Having Dispel Magic is the absolute best spell in this game. gets rid of everything. It makes druids hate their lives. And it's already on charge, so you don't have to worry about doing anything extra there. Break concentration, really important to make sure your frontliners stay alive. You see that other wizard using Dispel Magic, just break con them. Then they're done doing that for right now. That really makes Ancestral Armor last so much longer. It makes that Infused Shield last so much longer. And making sure that your field doesn't break that big old line versus their big old line while you do your thing is really important. 10 seconds doesn't feel like a lot. It's a lot. It's almost 2 spells worth for you. So I really like sticking with 3. I think 3 break cons is probably the nice sweet medium. Around 3, I usually run out of spells and die. If I have more, I die without using the 4, 5, 6. Take all of the charge spells that you can, just about. Shove is really great. Keeps people from doing things they want to do. If they're pushing, they can't push if they're pushing away. Wounding has so many uses that it's just crazy. If you wound a healer in their shield arm, they have to drop the shield, and then they have a sword usually, and then they have to stop casting. If you wound a wizard with a charged spell ball in that spell ball hand, they just lose the spell ball. If you mostly wounding people in the legs, warriors especially, they just hate it. They can't do anything. They just sit there and then they cry because their 6 points of armor are now on the floor.
Yep.
It's wonderful. Just the default list is really just a generalist build. You take a couple of this, a little bit of that, and that can really change a lot between the people that really want to play. I think everyone kind of has their comfort zone. I know you like your 72 shoves or whatever it is.
I usually only have 2.
It feels like a lot more sometimes.
Well, recharge times 3 is basically free. And
yeah,
so
it's basically nothing. I think I take a more versatile list versus others, where it's kind of more wide. I like sitting in the back and supporting my friends, making sure they get to play the game too, while I do a spell here and there to kind of do some more damage control. Other wizards really like to be more in the front and pushing and really being that spear. I'd rather use the rest of the list to really make a difference.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now that we know what your sort of default is there, what would be something that would make you deviate from that list? Maybe take one of those archetypes.
So I think that it's important if you see a bunch of warriors, maybe keep yourself away from some spell balls a little bit. I like Battle Mage a little bit more if I see all that armor on the field. Especially if I see a bunch of healers, if I see all these warriors. I think that they do so much against spell balls that there's no point in bringing them. You're not going to get much use. And then Battle Mage is probably a little bit better on that field. If you see a lot of other wizards, I like to really push harder onto a evoker type of list. Most wizards will try to break con you and push you out of that style of play where you're really casting spells and all that. And it's a lot harder for them to mess around with you when all your spell balls are already charged and you don't have to worry about suppression or anything else like that.
Yeah.
And that's really about it. I think with all the options that you get, it's really hard to deviate from a list that's just kind of good at everything.
Yeah. So, what would you say is the best ability your class gets?
I think the best ability is going to have to be Sphere of Annihilation. I mean, there's no other contender. It just ignores everything. It breaks whatever it touches, including people. And I think that you can just pick it up and do it over and over and over and over and over again. Just really sets the bar so high for a level 6 ability. It's kind of like a Finger of Death that just lasts forever. And that's something else. I mean, it ignores, I think it's enchantments now.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the new thing. It ignores enchantments too now, so there's nothing that stops it. There's nothing you can do, you just die. Doesn't matter if you have 6 points of armor or all these things. And that really sets the bar so much higher as just the super duper you're dead ball versus everything else. I mean, most of your other spells you have to do 2 things to get a kill, or it only lasts for so long, or you can only do this CC. Just saying, hey, you're dead, go back to base, sucks. Just makes it so much better. On top of that, it curses the enemy, so they can't even get resurrected.
Right.
Your warriors can't use True Grit. No one can do anything.
Mm-hmm. It really is the warrior shutdown ball right there.
Yeah, it's the great equalizer, as I've liked to call it for so long. It's just, man, I just don't know. When I got my Paragon, they also made me an embroidered spell ball with my heraldry on it, just because I use it so much. I just can't get enough of it.
Awesome. What is the worst ability that Wizard gets?
I think we're gonna agree on this one, and you already know what it is. It's Force Barrier.
Oh, it's so garbage.
I hate Force Barrier.
You can't do it. It just sucks so much. Even though they just changed it to 10 seconds, it's still unusable.
I joked with a lot of other Paragon Wizards, right before I got it, where I was just saying, it really feels better to ice ball myself than to take Force Barrier. I don't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's per life, I'm wasting a spell point, I can't use it offensively, I can't use it defensively, really. Mm-hmm. And even though they just changed it to a 10-second stop, it just doesn't do enough.
Yeah.
Anything that's going to be a self-frozen that isn't stone form, it's just bad.
Well, and when I started playing Wizard all those years ago, it was per refresh. So it was a per refresh. That was even lower tier garbage.
Per refresh, 30-second frozen. Every part of it looked bad. I was like, why would I want this?
Right? Well, and I remember when I was level 2 Wizard and I kept getting swamped by fight after death barbarians. I'm like, okay, this is what it's for. It's for that moment when they yell fight after death. I shall not be harmed. And then you get released and you get beat up anyway, and you're just like, oh, this is terrible.
I also hated it where they would just wait for the 30 seconds and just kill you anyways.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh good, I'm out of position.
I added 30 seconds to my own death timer. How delightful. Yeah.
It's just a worse version of just swift teleporting yourself out.
Mm-hmm. No, swift teleport is good.
Swift teleport is really, really good versus Force Barrier, which should do something else.
Yeah.
If we're gonna fix that, I think maybe giving us per refresh stone form. Make us I don't know what could make it good other than that.
Yeah, I could see stone form or maybe a shadow step.
Maybe.
Then it's still a little more vulnerable, but
yeah, or just get rid of it and give us something else more offensively.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea of not really having anything defensive on the list and just giving us a whole bunch of more options. Yeah. Because the glass cannon setup is just so great. I mean, the only other thing we have that's super defensive intrinsically is Ward Self, and it's almost worse.
Almost as bad. It's such a high level.
Almost as bad. The problem at 5th level for a once over maybe helps you, and it also pops on anything that you do yourself. It's not. I just can't take it.
Yeah, well, and then you also end up in this spot where Ward Self, it's 5th level, it's max 2, it's per refresh, you don't get any choices on. The only person I've ever seen use Ward Self, seriously, is Panzer. Have you ever played against Panzer when he's doing his,
yes.
He'll use Ward Self when he goes up against somebody when he thinks he needs a point of armor.
Yeah.
And even with him like being such a good stick fighter, like it still feels like hard. A waste, you know?
It's so hard.
Like
I tried to play with it for a little while and make it good. It's really hard to make good.
If it was per life, I could see it being really strong.
It would be too much at per life probably.
But at per refresh,
just giving us a second shot at things is probably a little too much.
Just at per refresh, it is too weak to be, at least for me, relevant. So.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I don't take it anymore. It's not good.
Yeah.
Just doesn't feel right. I'd rather just die and get resurrected or something. Take a better enchantment, like Gift of Air.
Yeah, absolutely. So, when you were playing Wizard, how can I defeat you if I'm playing a rival magic class?
So I think a big thing that we all know and think about is with all the magic classes, it's really important to just try to CC the other magic class first. That's what we all strive to do.
Mm-hmm.
For Wizard versus Wizard, it's who break cons first.
Right.
For Bard versus Wizard, it's usually who break cons first. Or now, especially now that they got per life break con, or they're just gonna awe me out or beat the heck out of me.
Yeah.
For healer, most healers, it's hard. It's hard for a healer to beat out a wizard. I mean, it's really just comes down to Ice Ball.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a whole lot else that they can do. And then druids usually just have that lycanthropy. You can't break con them. Can't really do a whole lot of what you want to do, and then they just beat you up, or they'll Ice Ball you as well. And that's just a part of life there. So I think it's just kind of a skill gap, which is really nice for magic classes specifically.
Okay. How does a melee fighter defeat you?
Oh my gosh. I think that a melee class is just the wizard's bane when it comes to if you can't be in position correctly, you can't get that front line, melee classes are going to be your nightmare. Because most classes, they're just going to walk up to you, they're going to run at you, and they're just going to beat you up. I mean, there's nothing easier than just using good old stick skill. Versus us, which is the class with the least things that we can do with a stick. I mean, we get a short sword, we get a long sword, a magic staff, a dagger. I mean, there's not a whole lot that we can do. There's no armor there. There's no shields. So we're stuck getting beat up.
Yeah, I find myself getting hit with arrows more often than melee, because the arrow people seem to have a personal grudge for me. Have you seen that a lot too?
So I think that the biggest thing, especially with us, is once you get towards those higher skill ceilings, you really understand where you can and can't be in the game, and that's what keeps you away from those melee fighters. You know to stay behind and probably don't get really close to a person with a bunch of sticks and a bunch of armor.
Yep.
And that's where the archers really get to play around with us. So they don't have to be anywhere near us. They can just kind of find that hole and really be our bane. They just do so well, and you've got to watch them constantly. You've got to try to block them constantly. The only options that you have to block them, their arrows automatically break your stuff.
Yep.
And that sucks.
Yeah, I find that I have to take more mends now than with magic staffs, because I like having the magic staff for blocking, but it's fragile to those arrows. I almost wish I got Harden, so you know?
Yeah. It makes Harden better, and it feels weird giving a Harden to a wizard.
Yeah, I'd rather have one of the other better enchantments, but if all I could get was a Harden, I feel like I could still do okay with that.
Like, if they offer me a Harden for my short sword, I'll take it. But, man, that's really down in the dumps for the game.
Right.
Man. It's like, hey, can I have one of those higher value ones? Like, I'm actually good at the class, I promise.
trying to pitch yourself there. Listen, like, I've got the silver trim. You can trust me with something good, I promise.
You look at them and you're like, please, look.
Okay, how can other classes collaborate best with wizards?
Oh, so there's really no better collaboration than two classes. There's warrior and bard.
Mm-hmm.
The first one was warrior, is warriors just stand in front of you, and that's good enough. They got 6 points of armor, they sit there forever, you can mend their stuff, and that's really all a wizard needs in life, if you're talking about the base level.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's like a collaboration like no other. It's iconic, everyone thinks about it. On competitive teams, when they add a wizard, they usually add either a paladin or a warrior, because it's like, hey, we need somebody to sit in front of this wizard so that they can do their work. And then as far as bard goes, is bard is kind of that sleeper that's really coming alive nowadays. They keep getting stronger and stronger with all these charges, because bards just bring back all your stuff for free, and it feels so nice to just sit there and feel like a Gatling gun, just picking apart everyone's lines so quick.
Is it it's restoration that gives you back your rechargeables, right? Or is
I believe it's rechargeables and for lives. It doesn't do
I thought
it brings back everything.
There's confidence and there's restoration.
Or for lives or both.
I don't know which one's which, but if you run up to a bard and you ask for Song of Power or Battle, whichever one's the charging. Yeah, the Song of Power.
Yeah.
You ask them for a Song of Power, and they're just like, no. Here, I got you.
No.
Ooh.
Confidence, Empower,
Yeah.
Restoration, Song of Power. Like, they're all so good.
Absolutely.
And it just feels great. They get it so easily. Almost everyone just takes a little bit of it, because you might as well. And I just don't see any reason why not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you're playing Wizard, could you, like, what are some of your tactics? How do you choose your targets on the field? Who are you going to mess with?
So, a really funny joke for everybody is just look at everyone that has silver trim. Make their day hell. But in the end, you really got to get to know your player base here. And if you don't, it's a little harder. But what I like to do is I look at who I know is really good at casting, and I'm going to shut them down first. That's going to be the Callahans. It's going to be a little bit further south. We've got Dart. We've got Air. We've got all these people that are just so good at casting. Manima. Oh my gosh. And after you get them shut down so that your team is fine, I'm going to start really trying to push out those frontliners, really get them out of the way. Create holes for these frontliners. And when the frontliners really make use of the holes, or they create their own, just mess up the front lines and do damage as much as you can. That's really what we're good at. Chucking 6 ice balls at everybody is really nice. I think we're down to 3 now.
Yeah, so the new playtest material just dropped, and so we're down to 3, and they each cost 1 point each. I think this is a good change. I think
I'm a big fan. I love ice ball. It's just too much. But really throwing all the spell balls out there, getting your icy blast out, just using as much of your CC as possible to mess people up is really important, and it's something that no other class can do. And that's where your role really has to be. If you can, chain your Sphere of Annihilations all the way down the field. And those are really going to be important for the frontliners. Nowadays, if I see that Paladin who's going Guardian and has the Imbue Shield, I'm just going to blow up the shield because it's got to go.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, this class is really fluid, and it's a nice. You just got to understand how the game works and really push to, hey, I got to break this so that this person can do what they want to do. And I think time in the game and time in the class is the most important thing for this class. It can't be beat.
Yeah. So, I've got some potential Paragon questions. So, what advice would you give someone who's just starting out as wizard? Maybe they've played it a little bit. Maybe they're at 6. Maybe they're like 2 or 3. But someone who, like, long term wants to be a Paragon wizard, but they're still pretty early in that journey. What advice would you give that person?
So, starting out, really understands that you are a wizard. You can't be up front. We can't be playing this front line, running the front battle mage here that you see some people do at Kingdom. Mm-hmm. That's a big no-no here. Play it safe to start. You can always get more aggressive. It's hard to get yourself out of the habit of being being aggressive. Mm-hmm. And really play around with every single spell. There is a use for every single spell in the list, except for Force Barrier. I'm just saying it.
You're right. Absolutely. I've cast them all.
Don't take it. But really play around with everything. I mean, when I got apprenticed to Sev for this class, I was like, I really love spell balls. That's all I'm doing right now. What am I doing wrong? He said, stop taking spell balls and really play around with everything else. He said, you're banned. You're banned from spell balls. Can't take them. I don't want to see you anywhere near them. Mm-hmm. And that really pushed me, at least, to try to mess around and find new ways to have fun. In the end, all that matters is having fun. When you're having fun, you're going to play better. If you hate the game and you're like, oh, I'm tired of playing Wizard, you got to try something else for a little while, because even in your Paragon journey, you're going to play something else a little bit, just to get that stagnation away. Mm-hmm. And again, play every single spell on the list. Figure out what works for you, what works, what doesn't work, what you don't like. Some people just, they love themselves that those enchantments. Mm-hmm. Some people just absolutely adore the enchantments, and that's awesome. That's cool. If you want to sit back, use your enchantments, be that support, that works too. There's, I forget the name of it, Dimensional Rift. Mm-hmm. If you love using Dimensional Rift, you're just finding yourself getting swarmed by assassins, it works. It's pretty good. I've seen lists from Artie, who is our current rules rep, who he uses Dimensional Rift, and I can't stand the spell. And that's all up to preference. I think everyone finds what they enjoy. Find what works for you. This class is very offensive focused, mm-hmm. but you can be so versatile with that offensive focused. You have every single school in the game. You have every single little option that you could do. Figure out what works and really push yourself to the limit there. If you end up working out Warlock and you're like, man, the spells for those other wizards, you guys can figure it out. And you want to play Warlock and just sit there and make everyone's life suck with all your spell balls and running around wounding people, all that stuff, that's cool. It works. Just don't limit yourself. I think that a lot of people really sit to one list and then they try their entire Paragon journey for one list. And then they're wondering, why are you guys saying no? Mm-hmm. Like, well, you didn't try all that hard. You played one thing, and it's the one thing that we all play, and Paragon's not about just skill. It's knowledge of the entire class, being able to do everything in the class, being able to tell somebody, hey, this is really good for this scenario. Mm-hmm. Being able to thrive and teach others how to play the class. And it's looking like the class, feeling like the class. When others look at you, it's, hey, that's a wizard, by gosh. And a lot of people really just don't think about that all that much. They just wear their regular garb, they play battle mage, they take a short sword, and then they just icy blast shatter people all day and nothing else. Mm-hmm. Okay. I think that's really big separation between just a wizard and a Paragon Wizard.
Okay. Stepping out of the wizard role for a minute, what is a paragon in a class? What separates someone from being, like, good at the class and being a paragon?
I think that it really depends on your kingdom, which is really funny, because we should have something to standardize it, in my eyes. But there's really 3 things that are important. The first thing is skill. That's probably like a really obvious thing. If you're good at it, then you're good at it. Awesome. Mm-hmm. Being able to really make a niche role in there work. If you're making a new play style, if you're just completely transforming your games with that, it's really important. I remember at June event a couple years ago, Dart, who got his Paragon healer, he was playing healer, and he told all the other healers on the field, he said, Pittacus is the only wizard on that field. We're gonna all take Warder, we're gonna all take Enlightened Soul, and he cannot play the game, because if he plays the game, we lose. And I remember walking onto the field, and every single person was screaming, Persistent E-Soul, and I was like, man, I hate you.
At that point, you just start dispelling everything that moves.
Yeah, all I could do was dispel, and by the time I got to where I could start really dispelling people and making a difference, mm-hmm. they'd already scored the point. Which, good on him for realizing that.
Yeah.
And realizing that our team couldn't hold back long enough for me to get that far, mm-hmm. and realizing that I was playing Battle Mage, all these things just lined up. Good on him. But transforming games is a really good sign that you're on the way. The second thing for me is going to be, do they really have that feel? Do they look like the class? Mm-hmm. Are they setting themselves apart? It's really easy to just be a Joe Schmo warrior here, or a Joe Schmo druid, wizard, archer, just walking around doing whatever, mm-hmm. in your basic garb. It really transforms things when you add garb pieces that really change it. Like adding in even a hat that has nothing to do with wizard. Mm-hmm. Adding in, there's these like little leg bags that like can hold books and stuff. Mm-hmm. Having a wizard book sitting in that looks super cool. And things that can set yourself apart to look different, to really feel different as that class is important. Making sure people know that that's you. Another thing is, like, very minor, but something that I like seeing is having more than just a general sash. Mm. That little cloth, that sash that everyone has, it doesn't really have anything on it.
The shoestring that everyone,
Yeah, the nothing that mm-hmm. really just, it looks the same everywhere. Versus some of the wizard sashes that you have that have completely different words on it for all the different builds you play. Mm-hmm. Or the macrame and paracord sashes that I'm really that I enjoy because they just look so much better. Mm-hmm. They don't crinkle up. It transforms everything.
I always ask people, are you embarrassed to be playing this class today? Why aren't you wearing your sash with pride?
Yeah, I think having pride in the class, really enjoying mm-hmm. it, making it your own. And when Paragons are talking about you, being able to show a picture, and even from a distance, someone who has no clue who you are goes, oh yeah, that's a wizard. Mm-hmm. That really works. Or any class, really. I think your last participant, Gore, does it so well. The painted armor. Oh my gosh.
Gore's armor is just beautiful, and you see it from across the field. Like, and that's the thing, like, I feel like people miss is that's Gore, right?
Yeah.
Like, in a world where everyone's wearing armor that sort of kind of clanks around and looks the same, that's Gore. And that iconic pop of color just sort of really works for him. And having something that says, I'm a unique player, you should remember me, taking you out of the distinct, like, I've probably given this example before, but when I was at Keep this last year, there was a guy who ran up to me and he was playing Paladin, and I don't remember what park he was from, but he says, "I'm Hank the Tank from such and such a park, and I'm here to smite you," or something like that. And he came up and interacted with me, I think, like 3 total times. But I remember that guy because he showed up
from Crystal Groves.
Crystal Groves, that was it. Hank the Tank from Crystal Groves. Like, that's a guy that'll probably, if he isn't already a Paragon Paladin, is going to get his Paragon Paladin, I think.
I do not believe he is. I think he's just got Scout right now. But, like, oh my gosh.
What a force of personality on the field. Like,
yeah, making differences. I mean, you've got people like Ash Palantir, Paragon Anti-Paladin, just really sets that in, that I'm an Anti-Paladin. I know better than you, I'm better than you, and you need to sit down.
Yeah, and he's such a nice guy outside of that like, role-play element. But he just, like, embodies that arrogance that I would associate with an anti-paladin when he's doing his thing.
Yeah, you've got, like, Paint, Paladin. I mean, just imbues it. Really sets yourself, like, just sell yourself. That's the big thing. Sell yourself as the class. That's a part of the look. And obviously digressing, but the third is going to be, can I trust you to have this random person walk over to you and learn how to play the class?
Yeah.
Like, because if you're just a Paragon, just to say I'm better than everyone else and I'm really good at this class, you can just be really good, and that's cool. Being able to have somebody walk up is really important, and I don't expect you to always teach. I don't expect people to get Paragon and have apprentices. That's cool if you don't. But being able to say, hey, like, this person knows what they're talking about. They can help you learn how to play the class a lot better. That's a really important part.
Yeah.
And it's probably the least out of the other two, but man, I have trouble giving people Paragons if it's like, that person's not approachable, you can't talk to them about anything, they know how to play their list and nothing else, and that's all they do.
Yeah. Okay. If you were looking at someone and saying, like, this is a trait that would be helpful in helping you become a Paragon, like you're looking for a potential thing, what is a sign of good potential for a Paragon?
I think that looking at somebody on the field and going, hey, this is going to be a problem here. They're really loud. They know how to make their spells enunciate really well. They don't really mess up the abilities, even if they're not fast. I think that enunciation, making sure your spells hit every single time, are more important. And then really not seeing them die much, not seeing them run out of spells super often, because they're charging it and really making use of their abilities, instead of just throwing them all out like word garbage and say, I'm done. Those are really important. And then, like, a potential Paragon really should have some kind of impact on that field. I really want to be able to look on the other side of the field and say, hey, I kind of know that person. I might not know their name or anything, but it's like, hey guys, like, let's get rid of that person. We probably want 2 or 3 people on them. We want to get all these counter classes. We want to really shove in as much as we can to make their life really hard. Because if we don't, they're probably going to make it really hard for us to win.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Talking about apprentices, are you planning on taking on any apprentices? Do you have any apprentices currently? What's that look like for you?
Yeah, I actually have one currently. It's going to be Charmcaster. They're a little bit further south, and they were really close, apparently, beforehand for a little while in the Rising Winds. And then they kind of moved over to Druid, and now they're really, really pushing for Wizard again. And as I knew, as soon as I got my Paragon Wizard, I was going to ask, and It's really nice because he plays the same list as me with Evoker pretty often,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like having that is really important, and I think I'm helping pretty well, and they're doing a phenomenal job in getting better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. If you were going to take on a new apprentice, what would be something you look for in an apprentice?
I think the big thing is going to be, can I interact with you pretty often?
Mm-hmm.
Can I actively watch how you play? Because that's a big thing, is making
Mm-hmm.
sure that you're doing the right thing. If you're in Texas, I probably can't come watch you play very often, so that's going to be a lot harder.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I want to be able to help you as much as the apprentice is there. I don't want to be taking apprentices that I'll just never see and it's just online and
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't really make a difference if I'm there or not.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I know that just having the apprentice favor can do some good for people, but until your Paragon can sit there and say, hey, I know what you're doing wrong, and it's this, this, and this,
Mm-hmm.
I think that the apprenticeship really just doesn't do it justice.
Yeah. Okay. Last two questions. Super fast. You obviously are pretty friendly and approachable. Is it okay if people come up and talk to you at events and ask you questions? Follow up on this video?
No! Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. I love when people walk up and they have these questions. I love answering.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just one of those things in this game. This is a team game. This is for friends to play with other friends.
Yeah.
And my philosophy is not just with Wizard. If we're helping each other learn how to play the game, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Also, on the other hand, I try not to walk up to people and go, hey, this is what you can do better. Because that feels kind of condescending and it feels like I'm just being a butthead. And I don't like that.
Yep.
Sometimes it happens and I'm like, hey, by the way, it would be super awesome if you tried this thing because it's just awesome and I don't know if you know it yet.
I'm trying to steer people a little bit without coming off as condescending.
Give them a little bit of the secret tech here.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah.
I've got one guy at my local park that seems to be obsessed with proving Force Bolt is the best spell ball. I'm like, it's just not.
Yeah. It's
Like,
not the best, but it's pretty dang good.
Yeah, but every other spell ball is just better.
I don't know. I love it. I love using it against, like, polearms.
Sure.
They just do so much.
But wouldn't you rather stop the polearm too?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
But
The
we
lightning
digress.
bolts are great. Ice balls, fireballs, all these things also do it.
Yeah.
But being able to purchase 24 force bolts, pretty crazy.
Yeah. I agree that there's a place for it, but not at the expense of something else.
No,
Yeah.
probably not.
All right. Do you have any final recommendations or advice before we let you go?
Nothing super crazy. Just really be respectful on the field. Be nice to your friends. If your friends don't want to play with you, you can't get Paragon.
Yep.
And I think something that Elk Glen, your park, does really well is if you're trying to go for Paragon to the point that you're just making your field hate you and just making it impossible to play, you're just taking all these ice balls and they're all frozen, they don't want to play the game anymore, you also can't get Paragon there. So really tone it down sometimes. Understand when you can have fun, give yourself a little bit of breaks here. Maybe play around with some things that you haven't really tried before. Try some meme builds and do some crazy stuff. But make sure that everyone's having fun. If your goal is to only win, you're probably not having fun.
All right. Well, if you made it all the way to the end of the video, thank you for watching. If you want to see Pitt come back sometime, make sure to like the video. If you have any questions for Pitt or myself, please leave them down in the comments. We'll be reading them for a good long while. And we will see you in the next Paragon interview. Pitt, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.